When God allows people to hurt you, it is never because He wants to see you broken. It is because He wants to see you awakened. The pain they caused wasn't a punishment, it was a revelation. It revealed who truly stood with you, who secretly stood against you, and who was never meant to walk into the next chapter of your destiny. Every wound you survived became a window into truth, a moment where God whispered, "Look carefully, these are not your people." Sometimes the only way to expose false loyalty is through discomfort. The smiles looked real, the words sounded kind, and the presence seemed genuine, but their hearts were nowhere near you. So God allowed the mask to fall. He allowed betrayal to unfold. He allowed the disappointment to surface, not to destroy you, but to disconnect you from relationships that would have destroyed you later. And though the hurt felt personal, the lesson was spiritual. You weren't being rejected, you were being redirected. You weren't being abandoned, you were being aligned. The loss you felt was actually God clearing your path. The tears you cried were cleansing you from attachments that had expired. The silence from people you once trusted was God removing distractions so you could finally hear His voice clearly. Because sometimes you cannot hear God until people stop speaking into your life. Their betrayal pushed you into isolation, but that isolation became your elevation. The pain forced you to grow stronger, wiser, sharper, more discerning. You began recognizing energy, motives, and intentions that once slipped past you. You learned to value peace over people, discernment over desire, and alignment over approval. That heartbreak trained your spirit. That disappointment trained your vision. That betrayal trained your boundaries. God was shaping you, strengthening you, and preparing you for a version of life that required a tougher, wiser, more spiritually grounded version of you. The hurt wasn't the end, it was the beginning of your refinement. Without that hurt, you would have stayed in rooms too small for your calling, conversations too shallow for your depth, and connections too dangerous for your purpose. God let them hurt you so you could finally outgrow them, so you could break attachments that were draining your spirit, so you could stop carrying people who were never willing to carry you. He saw what they said behind closed doors. He heard the envy in their silence. He felt the heaviness in their presence. You didn't. You saw potential. He saw the truth. You saw loyalty. He saw limitation. You saw a future. He saw a threat. So he stepped in and used pain as a divine separation tool. Not because you were weak, but because your heart was too pure to let go on its own. And the moment you began to walk away from what hurt you, you unknowingly walked toward what was meant for you. You walked toward peace, toward clarity, toward healing, toward destiny. Pain didn't break you. It built you, it sharpened your faith, it deepened your trust in God, it pulled you into prayer, it pushed you into purpose, and now, every time you look back at who hurt you, you no longer see pain, you see protection. You no longer feel anger, you feel gratitude, because you finally understand that hurt saved you, that wound woke you up, that betrayal was a blessing in disguise. And one day, when you stand in the place God is taking you, you will realize why He allowed every tear, every heartache, every disappointment. Not one moment was wasted. Not one wound was meaningless. God was preparing you for bigger, for better, for higher. The hurt was the doorway, protection was the purpose, and destiny was always the destination. When God allowed certain people to walk away from your life, it was not a loss. It was a divine release. You may have wondered why someone you loved suddenly changed, why a friend drifted away, or why a relationship that once felt so meaningful collapsed without explanation. But what felt like abandonment was actually God's intervention. He removed people who could not handle the weight of your future. He separated you from those who would have limited your growth, drained your energy, and dimmed your light. You didn't lose them. God saved you from them. Because if they were meant to stay, nothing could have made them leave, and if they were able to leave, nothing could have made them stay. Their eggs, it was not a sign of your weakness, but a sign of your spiritual protection. Sometimes God will close doors you're still trying to walk through because He knows what's on the other side long before you do. You may have felt confused, rejected, or even betrayed when people you trusted chose to distance themselves, but their departure was necessary. They weren't equipped for the level you're rising into. They couldn't celebrate you without competing with you. They couldn't support you without secretly resenting you. Their hearts weren't aligned with your calling, and God refused to let you carry emotional liabilities into a season that demands emotional strength. So He cut the ties you were too loyal to cut yourself. He let the misunderstandings happen. He allowed the separation to unfold naturally so you would not keep pouring into places where your spirit was being emptied. And even though it hurt in the moment, that separation was the beginning of your elevation. Their absence created space for clarity. Their silence created room for peace. Their exit created opportunity for divine connections. People who will love you, uplift you, and stand with you in ways those who left never could. You had to lose the wrong people to make room for the right ones. You had to let go of superficial connections to step into meaningful, God-ordained relationships that will align with your purpose and energize your spirit. What God removed was less than what He's preparing to give, because separation is not punishment. It is positioning. God was shifting you. He was pulling you out of circles that were too small for your calling. He was removing you from environments that could not sustain your next level. He was protecting your purpose from people who would have sabotaged it knowingly or unknowingly. And while you were fighting to keep relationships alive, God was fighting to save your destiny. He knew the conversations held behind your back. He knew the jealousy hidden behind smiles. He knew the intentions you were too kind to see. So He stepped in, not to hurt you, but to preserve you. One day, you will look back and realize that their departure was one of the greatest gifts God ever gave you. Because when the wrong people walked out, the right blessings walked in. When the voices of doubt left your life, the voice of God grew louder. When emotional attachments broke, spiritual clarity formed. This separation didn't destroy you. It realigned you. It didn't weaken you. It made you stronger. It didn't end your life. It began a new chapter. You are not where you lost them. You are where God is leading you. And the people who couldn't stay for your past were never meant to stand in your future. God removed them because He is preparing to elevate you, expand you, and surround you with people who carry peace, purpose, and purity. The separation was not rejection. It was redirection toward everything you were born for. There are moments in life when the weight of someone's betrayal feels so heavy that it shakes the very foundation of your trust. You replay conversations, wonder what you missed, and question how someone you poured love, time, and loyalty into could ever turn around and wound you so deeply. But what you didn't know in that painful moment is that God was using that betrayal as a divine filter. He was revealing hearts you could not read. He was exposing intentions that were hidden behind smiles. He was showing you what you could never have seen while you were blinded by affection, loyalty, or hope. God allowed their betrayal not to break you, but to wake you up. Sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones who have the greatest potential to derail your destiny, not because they are evil, but because their spirit is not aligned with where God is taking you. Their words carry influence, their presence carries weight, and their opinions carry impact. God knew that if they stayed too close, their doubt would contaminate your faith. Their insecurity would weaken your confidence. Their fear would poison your vision. They would have talked you out of dreams that God planted inside you. They would have discouraged you from opportunities that were divinely assigned to you. So God allowed the mask to fall and their true intentions to surface, not to humiliate you, but to protect the calling placed on your life. Every betrayal is a revelation disguised as pain. It strips away illusions and forces you to see truth. It reveals who is capable of standing with you when life grows difficult and who is only present when it benefits them. God sometimes lets you experience deep disappointment so that you stop giving access to people who cannot carry your heart with care. What feels like devastation is actually liberation. You were never meant to walk into your next season with divided loyalty, draining relationships, or people who celebrated you publicly but resented you privately. God allowed the betrayal so you could walk into your destiny with clarity, not confusion. And even though betrayal feels like a wound, it actually functions like a surgery. It cuts away what is harmful, toxic, or spiritually dangerous. It removes attachments that were blocking your growth. It frees you from people who are limiting your potential. Betrayal pushes you toward independence, self-awareness, and stronger boundaries. It teaches you discernment, strengthens your intuition, and reminds you to trust God above all else. The wound they gave you didn't destroy you. It trained you. It made you wiser, sharper, more spiritually awake. But here's the part that makes the pain worth it. Betrayal positions you for breakthrough. Every major elevation in the Bible came after betrayal. Joseph was betrayed by his brothers before he entered the palace. David was betrayed before he became king. Jesus was betrayed before the greatest victory in history. God does his greatest work after you have been wounded. The betrayal that was meant to cripple you actually set the stage for your promotion. They thought hurting you would make you collapse, but God used that moment to strengthen your foundation, deepen your faith, and launch you into a higher realm of purpose. So instead of asking, "Why did they betray me?" begin to declare, "Thank you, God, for showing me what I needed to see." What was meant to break you was turned into the very thing that built you. What was meant to stop you pushed you forward. What was meant to silence you awakened your voice. You didn't just survive the betrayal, you were transformed by it. One day, you will look back and realize that their betrayal was the turning point that aligned you with your destiny. You will thank God for closing doors you would have left open. You will understand that He allowed the pain so you could walk toward purpose. And you will see that the betrayal you thought would destroy you became the blessing that shaped you into the strong, wise, unshakable person you are becoming. God didn't let them betray you to hurt you. He let it happen to protect everything He placed inside you. There comes a moment in your journey when God has to separate you from people who cannot travel with you into the future He has designed for you. This separation rarely feels peaceful at first. It often feels like confusion, rejection, or unexpected distance. You wonder why the communication slowed down, why the bond suddenly weakened, or why someone who once felt close now feels disconnected. But what you may not realize in the moment is that God is intentionally creating space. Space for your growth, space for your elevation, and space for the blessings He is preparing to deliver into your life. Some people cannot handle the level you are stepping into. Their presence would bring distraction, discouragement, or spiritual interference. God isn't removing them to punish you. He's removing them to prepare you. When God begins to separate you, it is because He sees what you cannot see. He hears conversations you didn't hear. He sees intentions you didn't sense. He knows the plans He has for your life, and He also knows who will support those plans and who will sabotage them. Certain people are only assigned to specific seasons, not your lifetime. Their role was temporary, to teach you something, to build something in you, or to help you through a phase. But once that season ends, God begins to shift the connections around you, so your environment matches your next elevation. Holding on to someone God is removing can delay your purpose, drain your spirit, and disrupt your peace. So instead of fighting the separation, trust that God is engineering it for your good. This separation is not rejection, it is redirection. God is moving you away from the places where you were overlooked so He can position you where you will be valued. He is distancing you from people who took you for granted so He can surround you with those who appreciate your heart. He is disconnecting you from those who relied on your strength but never poured back into you. God doesn't want you entering your next season exhausted, emotionally wounded, or spiritually empty. He is clearing your path so that when your blessing arrives, you have the right support system, the right mindset, and the right environment to sustain it. Separation also serves as a test of trust. God wants to see if you trust Him even when you cannot understand what He's doing. Can you trust Him when He removes someone you thought would stay forever? Can you trust Him when He closes a door you were ready to walk through? Can you trust Him when He isolates you, not to punish you, but to prepare you? Every divine separation is followed by divine elevation. God pulls you back only to launch you forward. He isolates you only to strengthen your identity. He removes people only to protect your destiny. And here is the most powerful truth. God will never take something from you without preparing to replace it with something better. The people leaving your life are making room for people who will love you deeper, support you stronger, and value you more. God is replacing instability with stability, confusion with clarity, and inconsistency with loyalty. The relationships He has planned for you will not drain your spirit. They will nourish it. They will not pull you backward. They will push you forward. They will not compete with your growth. They will celebrate it. So do not mourn the losses that were divinely orchestrated. Do not cling to connections God has already released. Do not chase after people who walked away from your destiny. Instead, stand firm in faith and declare, if God removed it, I don't want it. If God ended it, it was not meant for me. If God separated it, it was protecting me. What feels like loss is actually alignment. What feels like emptiness is actually preparation. What feels like isolation is actually elevation. This separation is your setup. God is clearing your surroundings because the blessing He is about to place in your hands requires space, purity, and a circle that won't crumble under pressure. Trust the separation, because on the other side of it is everything you've been praying for: peace, purpose, protection, and the people who were truly meant to walk with you. When God allows certain people to hurt you, betray you, or walk away from you, it is not to break you, it is to build you. Pain has a way of revealing truth that comfort never will. Sometimes God lets you experience wounds, not because He wants you to suffer, but because He wants to open your eyes. He knows that the person you trusted blindly, the person you gave your heart, time, and energy to, may not be who they seem. And instead of letting that deception follow you into your destiny, God allows the mask to fall now. The hurt you feel is not punishment, it is revelation. It is God saying, I love you too much to let this person travel into your future. Every painful moment becomes a spiritual alarm, alerting you to what was hidden. You begin to see their intentions more clearly, their loyalty more accurately, and their character without the illusions. What felt like heartbreak was actually a rescue. What felt like loss was actually protection. God allowed the hurt because you were ignoring the signs. You were giving chances to someone who was misusing your kindness. You were trying to fix someone who never planned to grow. You were carrying someone who was only draining your spirit. So God stepped in and allowed an event, a word, or an action that finally made the truth undeniable. The pain pushed you to release what you would have kept holding, and through that hurt, God was also strengthening you. You discovered that you are more resilient than you thought, more wise than before, and more aware of your worth. Pain matures you, sharpens your discernment, and shapes your spirit. It teaches you not to attach your peace to people, not to depend on human approval, and not to expect loyalty from everyone who smiles in your face. The hurt becomes a teacher, molding you into a stronger, wiser, more focused version of yourself. What was meant to weaken you ends up fortifying you from the inside out. God also uses that hurt to reposition you. Some people can only leave your life through conflict, because if they walked out peacefully, you might chase them. But when they hurt you, you let go, and that letting go frees your hands for new blessings, new relationships, new opportunities that God has waiting. Your destiny cannot be shared with everyone who started with you. Some betrayals had to happen so you could step into the next level with clarity and new strength. You are being moved out of cycles of manipulation, out of environments where you are undervalued, and into a season where you will be honored and uplifted. And finally, God allowed the hurt to purify your heart. Pain humbles you. It breaks off pride, teaches empathy, and deepens your relationship with Him. When everyone else fails you, you discover God as your true source of comfort, healing, and understanding. You learn to lean on Him more than people. You learn to seek His voice more than opinions. You learn that His approval is the only one that truly matters. The hurt becomes the doorway that leads you closer to Him and closer to the future He designed. So instead of asking, God, why did they hurt me? Ask, God, what are you protecting me from? Because every tear carried wisdom, every betrayal carried direction, every painful moment carried purpose. What was meant to break you is the very thing God used to save you. When God allows hurt, betrayal, or disappointment to enter your life, it is never random. It is intentional, strategic, and rooted in His infinite wisdom. The sixth and final key point is that God uses every pain, every setback, and every act of harm directed toward you to prepare you for your destiny. What you experience as suffering is actually part of a divine blueprint. God, in His omniscience, sees the bigger picture. He sees the future you cannot yet comprehend, the doors that will open, and the blessings that are reserved for you. He allows temporary trials to secure long-term triumphs. Every moment of discomfort is calibrated to strengthen your character, sharpen your discernment, and align you with His perfect timing. When people hurt you, it is not always about their actions. It is about what God wants to reveal to you. Hurt exposes the hidden realities of life. It uncovers motives, reveals true character, and separates those who belong in your journey from those who were only passing through. The pain you feel is God lifting the veil so that you can see clearly, so that you no longer invest energy in things, relationships, or situations that will ultimately derail your purpose. It is a divine intervention designed to protect your future, to ensure that your hands remain free for the blessings He has prepared for you. When you understand this, the hurt loses its power to defeat you and instead becomes a catalyst for growth, resilience, and wisdom. God also uses hurt to strengthen your faith and reliance on Him. When disappointment strikes and people fail you, when trust is broken and dreams seem delayed, it is in those moments that God teaches you to stand firm, to seek Him above all else, and to trust that He is orchestrating every detail behind the scenes. He trains you to lean not on your own understanding, but on His infinite plan. He builds patience, endurance, and spiritual maturity through every trial, shaping you into someone capable of handling the greater responsibilities, greater blessings, and greater influence that are coming your way. The pain you feel now is the refining fire that will make you unshakable when your breakthrough arrives. Furthermore, God allows hurt to purify your heart. Pain clears away attachments, dependencies, and expectations that could corrupt or weaken your destiny. You begin to understand that not everyone is meant to stay in your life, and not every opportunity is meant to flourish under your care. Through the trials, God teaches you discernment, who to trust, who to align with, and who to release. The people who betray you, the challenges that seem insurmountable, The doors that close unexpectedly, all of these are God's way of refining your judgment and steering you toward what is rightfully yours. Your heart becomes wiser, sharper, and more in tune with divine guidance. In addition, hurt brings clarity. In the midst of betrayal or failure, God reveals what truly matters: your purpose, your calling, and your values. He removes distractions, exposes falsehoods, and reveals the people, paths, and opportunities that are genuine. What may feel like a devastating loss is actually God's way of redirecting you to a better place, a higher position, and a brighter future. When you embrace this perspective, you stop viewing pain as punishment and start recognizing it as divine direction. A signal that God is realigning your life for something greater than you could have imagined. Lastly, God uses hurt to prepare you to receive your blessings fully. Many people experience blessings but are not ready for them because their character, faith, or mindset is unrefined. God's protective hand sometimes allows adversity to enter so that when the blessings arrive, you are fully prepared to handle them with wisdom, humility, and gratitude. The trials are not obstacles, they are stepping stones. Every betrayal, setback, and moment of despair is a rehearsal for the greater things He has in store. By enduring the pain and trusting God's plan, you position yourself to receive your miracle, your breakthrough, and your divine favor in ways that will leave you in awe of His power, wisdom, and love. Pain becomes preparation, hurt becomes protection, and what was meant to break you becomes the very force that shapes you into the person capable of inheriting all that God has promised.